Yeah, that's right. Okay, good morning, everybody. I call to order the Tuesday, April 16th Judicial and Public Safety Committee meeting. Can I get a roll call? Here.
Here.
Yes.
Okay, we're all here. Do we have any public comments? No public comments. Okay, thank you. And so good morning, everybody. As you can see, we have a pretty full agenda today. So before getting into the agenda, I'd like to take a few minutes to discuss some of the items on the agenda. First, there are two procurement requisitions on the agenda that may elicit some discussion, and Commander John Putnam from the Sheriff's Office is here to answer those questions. The yearly jail food service contract is here, and last year this committee had a very robust discussion. At that time, we found out that the pricing doubled after a competitive bid process, and this was the first renewal. For that contract. The second procurement item is the purchase of new software for electronic medical records for detainees at the jail. I understand it to be very beneficial to move away from paper records and move into an electronic system to ensure good record keeping practices. Again, Commander Putnam's here if any questions are asked. The third item is regarding how police services are dispatched for the Sheriff's Office. Deputy Chief Dan Bilodeau is here and will present on the status of switching from ACDC to DuCom. I want to remind everybody that 6 months ago, the Sheriff's Office provided this committee a memo that stated the need for the switch. And today's IGA is the culmination of their talks with DuCom to make this change happen. Thank you to Deputy Chief Bilodeau for putting the presentation together, and I'm looking forward to hearing the specifics of the IGA. I also want to thank ACDC for being our PSAP for the past several years. They do a phenomenal job. I would like to also remind everyone that next Tuesday during the county board meeting, we will be having a Safety Act 6-month update from the circuit court clerk, state's attorney's office, public defender, and probation and court services. I'm looking forward to that one. Additionally, we will be holding a joint special call JPS and legislative committee meeting next Tuesday after the county board meeting to discuss an important piece of legislation that is currently within the General Assembly that is looking to fundamentally change how the public defender's offices are set up through the state. So you might want to be there for that. And with that, I would accept a motion to approve the Tuesday, April 3rd, 2024 committee meeting minutes. All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you. And with that, let's see, we're moving on to procurement requisitions. Can I get a motion to approve JPSP 14-24 recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Trinity Services Group, Inc. to provide meals for the inmates and officers in the jail for the Sheriff's Office for the period of June 1st, 2024 through May 31st, 2025 for a contract total amount of $1,225,031. I heard a motion. Is there a second? Okay, second, Jim Zay. Okay, all in favor? Oh, any discussion on that? Member Chaplin.
Thank you so much. So with this contract, I was just wondering, for pregnant women in the jail, does this contract cover the extra calories, or does it address that in the contract, or how are we taking care of that?
Did you say calories? Sorry.
Yes, because
okay.
They're supposed to get like 300 extra calories a day.
So the provider they have a dietitian for us. So we defer to them on all dietary needs, but it does include any pregnant females, any special needs.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Moving to item 6B, can I get a motion to approve JPSP 15-24 recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Sapphire Health LLC for the purchase of software licensing for an electronic medical record system in the Correctional Center for the period of May 1st, 2024 through April 30th, 2029 for a contract total not to exceed $299,283.21. Any discussion on that? Member you?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Is this the one where Sapphire Health was considered like the secondary option because the first one was too high? Or am I thinking of one later on?
I don't think there was a, yeah.
I was asking, were there bids, for this particular procurement item? And, was this the secondary choice or was this the first choice?
Was the secondary choice. There were other proposals. We did it through the RFP process. And after taking a look at everything due to fiscal responsibility.
Yeah.
This was the best option. This was the one that met all of our needs. But the fiscal responsibility part compared to pricing on the others.
Right.
Was
Yeah, the difference was quite
significant.
high. Yeah, the
Yes.
differential. So, thank you for that. I'm wondering though, it seemed to state, at least in the PRCC or some of the information, in the packet, that the first choice, it had everything that you needed. Will you be able to get everything that you need?
Yes.
Even with this one? Okay.
Yes, we carefully went through all that, compared things, and they work.
Okay,
We
great.
needed a car with four wheels, and one was a Rolls Royce, one was
Okay. Thank you.
whatever you want to compare it to.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. On to budget transfers. Can I get a motion to approve 24-1252 transfer of funds from instruction and schooling, and subscription IT arrangements to to accounts for regular salaries, employer share IMRF, employer share Social Security, employer share IMRF, employer share Social Security, regular salaries, employer share IMRF, and employer share Social Security in the amount of $215,818 needed to cover regular salaries, IMRF, and Social Security for anticipated retro pay for the sheriff, court security, and jail operations for ongoing union contract negotiations for fiscal year 2023. Any discussion on this? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Can I get a motion to approve item 24-1259, transfer of funds from other professional services, overtime to part-time help, temporary salaries, sheriff special duty overtime, and sheriff special duty overtime in the amount of $240,000 necessary due to increased use of part-time and temporary registered nurses, not agency nurses, as budgeted. Transfers from overtime to special duty overtime for a moot court event and election detail. And the sheriff's office is reimbursed for these special events. Any discussion on this? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. On to item 7C. Can I get a motion to approve item 24-1261, transfer of funds from part-time help to interpreter services in the amount of $5,000 needed to cover interpreter services for DUI evaluation appointments for fiscal year 2024. Any discussion on this? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. On to action items. Item 8A, can I get a motion to approve item JPS CO-2-24, recommendation for the approval of a change order amending purchase order 5441-1 serve issued to Microgenics Corporation to provide court-ordered drug testing and supplies to increase the purchase order in an amount of $48,000, resulting in an amended purchase order total not to exceed $156,114.60, an increase of 44.4%. Any discussion on that? Members A?
Yes, thank you. I just assume this is just an increase of testing needed. Doesn't say much, just says increased testing due to our specialty courts. So I just assume we're getting a influx of testing that we need to do.
Yes, good morning, Bob McKellen from probation. We entered into the contract in October of 2021. Past year and a half, we've seen a significant increase in the number of drug testing court ordered, both in our specialty courts, drug court, mental health court, as well as pretrial cases.
So are they tested automatically when they come in, or is this ordered by a judge or by probation or
It's court ordered.
court order? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And member you had a question?
It was the same question
Oh,
and it was
okay.
answered. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. On to item 8B. Can I get a motion to approve JPSCO 3 24 amendment to purchase order 2846 one serve issued to Journal Technologies, Inc. for a case management system for new pre-trial case configurations, total in the amount of $10,000, a 1.2% increase. This is for the Public Defender's Office. Okay, any discussion on this? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Okay, moving on to item 8C. Can I get a motion to approve item 24-1242 TriTech Software Systems? This purchase order is decreasing in the amount of $847,546.88 and closing due to cancellation of the contract. Any discussion on this? Member you?
Yes, there wasn't any information about why this was canceled, and it was a very large amount that was remaining of 847,000. Is there just a brief explanation as to why this contract is closing?
I don't know if Circuit Court Adams is on. I don't want to steal her thunder because it's actually a really good thing to talk about. So let me see if she's on first. Craig, does she appear to be on, or somebody from the circuit clerk? Okay. So this decrease in cancellation, this is for the former e-citation. Right, we're on hold on.
I'm here. So we developed our own e-citation program. So ultimately, we closed this contract because we no longer needed the vendor, and we're going to save the county millions of dollars in the long run.
Great job. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay. All in favor? Oh, sorry. What's that? Oh, yeah, I think we got a second. There was who was? Okay. Now we got a motion and a second. We had the discussion. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Moving on to consent items. Can I get a motion to approve item 24-1243? Decrease and close purchase order 6062-1 serve issued to Sentinel Offender Services LLC in the amount of $79,842.01 due to the contract has expired. Okay, any discussion on this? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. And moving on to 9B, can I get a motion to approve 24-1244? Decrease and close purchase order 5947-1 serve issued to Forensic Psychology Group LLC in the amount of $23,462.50 due to the contract has expired. Any questions or comments? Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Moving on to informational, can I get a motion to place on file item 24-1245? Informational, this is the Public Defender's Office Monthly Statistical Support Report for March 2024. Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Now we are on to our presentation. This is the DuPage Sheriff's Dispatch Services, and I will welcome Deputy Chief Dan Bilodeau for this, and Under Sheriff Moore.
Good morning, everybody. I brought my emotional support under sheriff with me. So how is everybody this morning? Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to what we have to say here about this switch. As you guys recall or may recall, back in October, we sent over a memo with a whole lot of information about some of the challenges with AC/DC. If you go to the next slide, please. This is kind of a timeline for you of where we were at, where we were coming from with this. In 2020, there were continued conversations about closing the sheriff's office PSAP, which was something we didn't want to do, but we were ultimately in the position that we closed our PSAP, and we initially consolidated with AC/DC in November of 2020. At that time, we had sought out at the board's request, and just to be fiscally prudent, we had sought out a similar pricing with DuCom. And at that time, the prior director of DuCom provided us with a quote that was more for the first year than the 3 years of AC/DC combined, which is how we ended up going over to AC/DC in the first place. That initial contract was $863,000 for us per year, which was a huge cost savings for us at the sheriff's office and at the county level. We went through all of those processes. We had some challenges along the way, but once we knew we were going to try to fix those with our first renegotiation with AC/DC. When we sat down at the table with them, we were floored at the price increase that they presented to us. We tried to do some things, tried to work with them, have some communication, and there was just unfortunately really nothing back in terms of our concerns, our needs, or the pricing. So at that time, we asked DuCom if they would be willing to entertain us coming to DuCom and what the pricing would be. We got the quote from DuCom, and it was coming in for the yearly services was going to be less than what we would have been paying for AC/DC. So we began the negotiation process. We had to, because it was such a short compressed time frame, we had to do an extension with AC/DC, which is, you see, was $741,000. That's set to expire April 30th. So we're looking at this move to DuCom on May 1st. So before you today is our agreement with DuCom to move forward, and then we'll go over some of the particulars with that. Next slide, please. When we presented our budget for FY24, we had included a cost of approximately $1.2 million, anticipating a modest price increase with AC/DC. We didn't think we were going to stay at 863. We would have liked to, but that we knew that wasn't going to happen. When they gave us that initial proposal, which we provided to you back in October last year, that $741,349, which was the same price that we did the extension for, was just to get 6 months. And AC/DC was then going to require us to switch to their fiscal year as opposed to our fiscal year. So it would have been starting on May 1st with them as well. At that point, they were going to take us to 1.5 million, a little bit more than 1.5 million. That didn't include any of the additional dispatching services. There was conversations at the time. We had the state's attorney with us. We had probation with us. There was going to be more conversation about that, if that was going to be an increased cost, because it was a per user type of a situation. But being very transparent with you, they never came back to us with anything when we asked any questions. There was literally no return, rebuttal, or information from AC/DC. So there was other associated costs that were going to be included, a $50,000 administrative fee. When I asked why we had to pay a second administrative fee, I didn't get an answer for that because we paid one the first time around. They had an initial cost of a reserve contribution of $150,000, which was kind of a surprise to us in a renewed contract why we were doing that. So the total cost was going to be almost, it was $1.75 million was going to be the total cost starting in April, which of course was way above what we had budgeted for in anticipation of the price increase. Again, we tried to have some good faith negotiations with them. We literally got nothing back. And I included all of that in the packet back in October that we gave you guys. The following year for that was going to be 1.74 million. So just under what those additional costs were. So the costs were just continuing to go up and up and up with them. Next slide, please. So we met with DuCom. We've had some incredible conversations with DuCom, and the DuCom director and deputy director are here today as well. We've had some incredible conversations with them, talking about the needs that we had, the things that we wanted to get changed, trying to correct some of the issues that we had seen with AC/DC. And so far, everything is going forward swimmingly. We understand there's probably going to be some bumps in the road, but we'll get there. State's attorney's office, probation office is coming along with us. No additional costs. They're going to absorb those aspects as well. So we're be able to bring our whole holistic package over to DuCom and keep everything intact the way that it is now. Again, incredible conversations with them, how we're doing that. Some of our operational services that we wanted customized for us, because we were able to show they weren't working at AC/DC, they're with us, they're agreeing with us. They've had countless, I would say probably dozens of their telecommunicators riding with our supervisors in this interim process, just to learn the size and the breadth of the county and the operation that we have. That was something we didn't really see too much of with AC/DC. So the communication's been great. The working together with them has been great. We've had Nick and Jason involved with these conversations as well, because it's a pretty hefty lift for us, not only in the move from AC/DC to DuCom, but to get all of these parts and pieces in the same working order. Included in this proposal and in this PowerPoint here is what we're looking at for the first year. It kind of breaks out some of DuCom's costs to us in terms of all the overall operational aspects. We're looking at about $1.6 million for this year we're going to need, so which is under what is anticipated from AC/DC, but there's still going to be some additional costs that are going to go in with this. Next slide, please. Much like our initial switch over to AC/DC, there are some one-time fixed costs. And because we're doing this consolidation and switching over, DuCom has a very robust set of bylaws. They're a member-driven agency, and they have a really, really strong foundation. They're a very, very large entity. So I believe when we join, we'll be the 45th agency in DuPage County, entity in DuPage County to be in this one consolidated dispatch center, which gives us incredible communication with the other entities in the county, both police and fire. I think it's really going to be a very positive move for us. But we do have to pay some of those initial upfront fees. There is they call it it's basically a membership fee. It's at 10%, so that's a $732,000 cost. There's their administration fee, which is ironically less than what we were paying. We were requested to pay for a continuation of a contract at ACDC of $46,000. That's a one-time cost. There'll be hopefully through negotiations with DuCom, we'll be looking to pay those one-time fees in FY25. And at the same, so not now, we're just looking at the one-time, our first year of service fees with them, but then we'll be looking to budget for those in FY25. Next slide, please. To break down what we're looking at for FY24 and why we're here talking to you guys today, DuCom's fees are over on the left-hand side of that with May 1st, August 1st, November 1st at $387,000 per quarter. There's that one-time administration fee that's going to be put into all of that. For us right now, it's $1.208 million for FY24. We've managed to come up with the money we had left over that we did budget for, and we've got in our office budget approximately $520,000, which brings us to a need and an ask of the county of $688,000 for those fees for the remainder of FY24 for the switch to DuCom. I will note that even if we didn't do this, we would have still had to come back to you because of ACDC's incredible price increase and still been asking for money. Maybe not quite as much because of the one-time fees that are associated, but we still would have been coming back to ask for more funding because of it. We had no way to envision that they would have gone so high in their price increase. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions you guys might have.
We have Member Desart.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, Deputy Chief Bilodeau. I'm at a loss. I don't understand how we could go from $807,000 to almost $800,000 for just 6 months through ACDC, and then the yearly cost more than doubling. I know you said that ACDC wasn't that communicative with the sheriff's office, but I'm at a loss how it could, the price could go up that much. Do you guys have any idea what was in the contract that we didn't see that?
There was nothing in the contract. We had our initial contract, and when we sat down at the table up at ACDC that morning, they just slapped this new contract right in front of us and said, this is what it is. We're going to a membership cost price. We're going to be the cheapest in town. Go ahead and shop around. Per member, they're not. It turned out that the membership cost price was actually less with DuCom.
Just to give you a little.
Are you crying about it? I'm gonna start crying here
My
too.
allergies, I'm sorry. Right, exactly. Just to give you a little more, when Dan started preparing our budget for 24, I was in constant conversations with ACDC and trying to get them a price so that he could budget for us. They wouldn't give me a number. They wouldn't even sit down and have a conversation with me. So he decided in best thought or forecast that 1.2 would be about where we would be. We tried to make several appointments to sit down with them and start negotiating this contract early. We got no answer. So when we did get to the table, as Dan said, which was probably right around late September, early October, like he said, we were floored. And I remember the director, and I won't say names, telling us, well, we're going to see what DuCom will get you. I guarantee you, you'll be way more than this. You know, we'll do that. We'll go over and see what we got. So we went over and had a conversation. It turned out it was for the best for us.
Thank you, Under Sheriff Moore. I too am floored.
Member Zay and then Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, that brings up a bigger question. I know they worked hard to consolidate all these PSAPs. Now they're the only game in town. Maybe it's something we need to do, look at the legislative committee to look at something where they can only go up so much, because without DuCom or ACDC, what do? Do we bring our PSAP back after all of this? I mean, again, if they're going to drive prices up, there needs to be some kind of cap on this, because this is something that's obviously has to be provided. I mean, we need dispatch service, and every municipality needs dispatch service. The county needs dispatch service. And if they want to continue to do this, maybe we should talk to our representatives on, ETSB and, see what's going on with this because it's not right. And again, it's like an engineer's estimate when we go out for a project and they say it's gonna be 500,000 and you go out for bidding, it comes back at 750. You can kind of understand, but to get no response back from ACDC, that's fine. And I understand the one-time buys. I'm sure our rent will go up over at DuCom, but that's fine to cover some of this, but again, I understand your situation. We need to go with it. I mean, I think it makes sense because we all questioned that when it first happened. Why aren't we using DuCom? They're on our campus. You said it was financial. That's why it was better. So now we're back with DuCom. Hopefully, we'll have a longer relationship with them. And I mean, again, we'll get pricing that makes sense, that gives you increases that, can be, somewhat, talked about and, we understand, but to do that, it kind of almost feels like a bait and switch with ACDC. Hey, come on in, we'll take you. And now here's your first renewal. And now we're gonna jack you up and,
Well,
do that.
in all candor as well, we've had more meetings with DuCom now than we were ever invited to in 3 years with ACDs. We weren't asked to come to any of the executive meetings or anything. And with DuCom, we'll have a seat at the executive board table. We'll actually have a voice in some of these things. So I think it's a positive move.
Thank you.
Member Krajewski?
Thank you. I had some of the same questions Member Zay had. We only have two in the county, and if you have to listen to this presentation, I'm concerned about the municipalities and ones that are using ACDC and who's running that place. If I could just, I don't need it now, but if you could guys send me a list, I'd like to know which municipalities are at ACDC. And is it just amongst the members that elect that board? I mean, how did they?
No idea how they did it.
You don't know.
They had a big change in their leadership. I don't know what happened there. And
Well, who appoints or is members appoint? You don't even know.
we were not included in.
Yeah, so, but I would, just like to see the members that are part of ACDC and have concerns. I mean, 911 is an important thing in the county, and I'm concerned about potentially how it's being operated up there, just based on what I heard today. Thank you.
Member Yu and then Member Ozog.
Thank you, Chair. So I haven't finished all my coffee this morning, so all these numbers are just swimming in my head. So if we could just bring it back to the ask here. I think you had stated that obviously ACDC, their ask was crazy high. Is it the 1,744,000 number?
Which one?
That's the ACDC number, correct?
No, ACDC we did the extension with ACDC to get to May 1st, and that was $742,000 roughly. They were, for us to get through the rest of the year, it was gonna be over $800,000 just for that 6-month period. So they more than doubled their cost on us for the following year. So the ask for us now is we have the money that we had left over. Well, we're trying to be within our own budget, get together whatever we can to be as fiscally prudent as possible with this. But the ask is still overall for the board for FY24 is still $680,000.
Okay, so, okay, great. Thank you for that. My second question is, if we move over to DuCom, which it seems like we have to do anyway, but the cost that they were asking for originally versus what we're going to be getting with the membership fee and all this other stuff, is there a cost savings if we move over to DuCom?
I believe long-term there will be because the costs, looking at the projected increases each year, ACDC's cost was going to continue to stay up higher and higher than DuCom's annual cost.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, Member Ozog.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really like Mr. Zay's idea. I really like the idea of working with legislative to tie this somehow, tie it to CPI where you don't have insane increases like this. It just, and obviously it doesn't sound like you have any justification from them, et cetera. So, and this is an essential public service. So tying it to CPI through state legislation would be a really good idea. Thank you.
Okay, any other, oh yeah, Member Gaston.
Yeah, thank you. Totally agree. I think there needs to be something legislatively. However, there are communities that do their own. I mean, Naperville has their own PSAP department and they pretty much regulate their own stuff. So it's at their own cost and they can really regulate, how much is going to happen and how many people are going to be on it, how many people they need, what the cost is gonna be, what the
We had
increase
our
is gonna
own
be.
We had our own from
Yeah,
the beginning of time.
It's
and
a
there
little
was-
bit better, so you can keep a little more control on it. And then you're not a victim to other things, but we are where we are, so maybe even throw that process back into the wheelhouse, maybe. But I agree, there needs to be something done legislatively. Thank you.
Can we also get a little history on, didn't we used to have so many PSAPs and then we consolidated down because it was supposed to be cost savings and, cutting down on bureaucracy?
I think that'd be a question for Linda Zerwin, ETSB.
Okay, so maybe some other.
Well,
some
there
other
was a
time.
state statute that required consolidation over
Okay.
time, and I think it's gone over 27, 28 years when we've consolidated down. And Naperville's not by itself, it's got Aurora in there. And I think they'd be better served if they did join DuCom or somebody else, but Naperville always chooses to go on its own. They want their own courthouse too, but anyway, that's another story. So one of the things 5 or 6 years ago, being a member of ETSB, is that the sheriff's office did want to continue to go on when Sheriff Zaruba was there. And one of the things that we had as a county board, we had a mock demonstration of a Balkan oil disaster in Downers Grove. And one of the things I noticed from that was that when a rail disaster, that they evacuated from a quarter mile to a mile out, and the sheriff's dispatch was right here on campus. DuCom was going to be across the street, and the whole idea of having DuCom over here and ACDC over in Addison was to have them physically separated so that if there was some type of a disaster, one group could go and work at the other site. So I'm assuming that the ACE for ACDC stands for Addison, right? They started it and they brought people in, and I think that was the way it was supposed to go, because we're complying with the state statute, saving a lot of people, instead of having every fire department, police department having their own dispatch, now we've got two. And that should work out. And if it's not working out now, I'd like to know why. That we've got incredible increases over at ACDC, but that should be something where they're somewhat in competition with each other, but also complement each other. So if we do have a disaster and one of them can't operate, the other one can take over. And I think we built enough chairs, didn't we, at each, so that the group of people, let's say there was a natural disaster or some type of disaster here, and DuCom couldn't populate their facility, they could go over to ACDC. We'd have many more people working over there. So, am I right? Yes, I'm right.
And we really are fortunate that we have two PSAPs to choose from and two PSAPs that complement each other. So I don't want this to turn into a, ACDC versus DuCom thing. They just, DuCom turned out to be the low bid. And that's really what we're talking about here, low bid, the most economical choice for us. They're both great PSAPs, and we should probably just, leave it at that.
By the way, I asked Naperville to join DuCom about 6 or 7 years ago, and of course, they didn't want to do that, though. They wanted to bring Warrenville. They wanted to bring Warrenville over with them.
Maybe we
entire
move over to
system.
Naperville. I don't know. Okay, so thank you so much for that presentation. It was very helpful. And with that, let's move on to the resolutions. I think we have enough people. Can I get a motion to approve JPSR 11-24, approving an intergovernmental agreement with DuPage Public Safety Communications, DuCom, for police department dispatch services for the sheriff's office? We got a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Now, any old business? Hearing none. Any new business? No new business. And can I go to motion to adjourn? Okay, all in favor? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.